Hey everyone, in this lesson we're going to take a look at the world of macro photography. We've got an iPhone 13 Pro Max and we're going to jump in and take a look at what images and what video we can get using the macro mode, which uses the ultra wide camera on this phone. So let's jump into it and take a look what we can do. So if any of you have got the iPhone 13 Pro or Pro Max, it's the only two that do the macro mode. You might have noticed when you're doing video or photography, as you get nearer to something, it actually makes a jump. The image is switching from whatever camera you're in to the ultra wide camera. So let's take a look at how that comes on and the effect that it causes. Okay, our first tip is knowing when your camera goes into macro mode. So currently I'm on 1x camera. I'm in the photo. And then basically as I move down towards these screws here, you can see a jump that just happened there. And also, if you notice in the bottom right, there is a small circle that comes up with like a flower on it. So the macro mode. Now we can actually keep going. This means that we switched over, even though we were in the 1x camera, it switched over to the macro mode, which uses the ultra wide camera. So we can just keep going right up as close as we can, right up to these screws here. I can press and hold to lock focus and exposure, and then I can take my picture. So if you don't like the little yellow macro icon that turns on, it's the yellow circle with the flower in it. And as it jumps into macro, that comes on. If you don't like that, that can be turned off by simply going to settings on your phone and then camera. And then down at the bottom, it's a macro control. Now this won't turn off the macro control, but what it will do is it will stop that yellow icon from coming up if it just gets annoying for you. If you're taking a photograph, the jump in the macro won't make much difference because you just get to where you want to be and you just saw the jump then. But once I'm actually close enough, I can even go to a different lens, for example, and get the shot as best I can. And then take your photograph. Now in video mode, you don't have this option. So for example, if I'm trying to zoom in to something, first tip is it's actually better to be in close and then zoom out. That makes it easier. You can go in the 0.5 ultra wide camera, and if you do that and then you move into something, it won't jump because it's already in the ultra wide camera. And the other option you have is once you press record on the video, so if I'm in 1x camera mode, for example, if you press record and then you start moving in, it won't jump either if the record button is already recording. However, you've got to be careful of this because once it's recording, you've got to be careful of your focal distance. So you might try to go too close if you're trying to do macro. And in that case, it might be a little bit blurry. So if that's the case, you're better off starting off with the 0.5 camera, get as close as you need to, and then record and pull out away from the subject. The other thing that happens is trying to zoom in and out. It's really difficult in macro mode. Your hand shake is there. So you can use a gimbal or a slider or a tripod, a little mini tripod, like a Gorilla Pod is good, and get as close as you can to the subject. And instead of going in and zooming in, if you're doing video, start off at the closest mode and then pull back, and that's much better. And then post, you can reverse it and it looks like you're zooming in, but it makes it much more stable looking. So instead of moving in where you see the jump, go to where it jumps in. Actually change to your ultra wide camera, and from there move out. And by doing that, the camera won't switch again. So if you have somewhere that you have a smooth surface, you can use an old t-shirt, and then basically when you're trying to zoom out, get to where you want it to be, you can be right on the edge of the t-shirt, and then as you move out, it'll make it much more smoother. So here, if you don't have enough height to use the t-shirt, then just use any boxes, or these are some old Tupperware containers that are from the dollar store. Get your camera, your phone as near as you want to, and then still in the macro mode, you can just drag the t-shirt back and get a smooth transition at the height you want. And if it's that smooth, you can even use this to zoom in. So the next thing we need to talk about is light. The more light that you have, the better. If you're filming indoors, try to get near a big open window. If you're filming outside in a lot of bright daylight, that's also good. But what you'll find is, as you're trying to film, and we move this nearer to the subject, if it's too dark, you won't get as much detail. And also the video will be sort of grainy as well. So what you can do is have something like this, or a little cheap LED light, which you can just turn on and get more light on the subject indoors. And then this definitely helps when you're actually doing the video. It'll help with lighting up the subject. Okay, here we've got a little bit creative. So there's a couple of cheap LED lights. So one's like an orange color and one is a blue. We've got our same setup that we've been using. And so now and I've actually pulled the curtains back so you get more of the blue, like orange and teal look. And then using our same setup here, I'm on go into macro mode as near as I can. Press record. Then pull it back. Trying not to get the LED lights in the frame. I can zoom in. So next, what we're going to do is try to take a picture. I've got some light coming in from this area here. And try to take a picture of the rope or the string around the candle. And for this, I'm going to go into just the photo app. And then I'm in macro mode. No matter which one I choose, it'll jump into macro mode anyway. I'm going to get as close as I can. And I can even press and hold on it just to see if I can focus in on that string and then take a picture. Okay, this might be a little bit difficult to hear me because we're right next to a school. But there's a bush here with a bunch of bees going between the flowers. And we've set this up on a tripod. This is actually an electrical tripod called a Moser Slipod E. And we're just going to record on here to see what we get. Might just have to be a little bit patient until one of the bees comes into one of these flowers here. Okay, you're going to use some type of electric slider. If you're going to do a lot of macro shots, it might be worth getting one because it keeps everything steady and you're not going to be able to hand move it in and out like this. So what we're able to do is use a Bluetooth to connect to this, and then I can start my video like so, wait for the shake to stop, and then I can drag this back. Now this is really loud, so you won't be able to do like a talking head over this. You might have to talk over the top of it. Okay, same thing. We have this tripod hooked up to this bush here on the flower. Let's start the recording. And after you press the recording, it's going to take a second or two for the tripod to stable out. And that's what can happen.